Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are we getting on? So we have a little more Fallout 76 news today. Bethesda have shared their take on the upcoming expansion to Daily Ops that's coming with Update 26 in about 3 weeks. And there's a few updates on what's happening with the PTS for this particular update as well. So let's jump in and take a look, shall we? Okay then, so there's a lot of stuff on the Daily Ops here, which I have already covered to some extent in a video previously, so I'll link that up in the corner and down below the video as well if you want to check that out. It goes into a bit more detail, it's a bit more hands-on, so you take a little look at it from that way. But we've got Bethesda's take here, along with some other information about things that are changing with the update and so on and so forth moving forward, given that it's on the public test server at the moment. So, let's have a look at this Inside the Vault blog post first and foremost. So, over at Hemlock Holes, we have Inside the Vault, Dev Dive into Daily Ops. Welcome to Inside the Vault. Recently we unveiled our 2021 roadmap, answered some of your questions on an AMA with our developers. We are focusing on new content coming to you in Update 26, locked and loaded, specifically new additions to Daily Ops. This week. Totally missed 2 words out there. Oh well. So, with our locked and loaded update, we are bringing an all-new update to Daily Ops. This includes a new game mode, new locations, new mutations, new enemy types, and of course, new rewards. So, Steve Massey, the lead level designer who is responsible for Daily Ops in a general sense, and Justin Nesbitt, who is the individual responsible for the specific updates that are coming with this update in about 3 weeks' time, are both in this dev dive video, taking a look at what's coming up, covering all the general details and the new stuff and the update. So rather than going through the whole thing, I've already had a little look at it. There's some cool stuff in here, but a lot of it, as I say, is covered in the previous video that I will link for you. But there's a few key points down below it and a couple of points that I wanted to pull out that will expand on that. So we'll have a little look at that. So first up, new mode and locations. The brand new decryption mode, your mission is to disable 3 radio interceptors for Vernon Dodge. Okay, yep. You need to hunt for 3 enemy code carriers and take them down to get a special code you can use to disable a radio interceptor. Be careful though, for every code carrier you take down, the enemy waves will become even more deadly. Enemies will continue until you take down the final boss and have pulled the plug on the final interceptor. You'll also be able to experience decryption mode and other daily op modes in all new locations. We've added Vault 96, Watoga Raid Arena, and West Tech Research Center. So, off the top there, yeah, basically the way it works is you have 3 locations, a bit like in the current Daily Ops, but you don't have to stand on them, you've just got to run over and activate them. Each time you do, you get another wave of enemies. Each successive wave is bigger than the last, and the enemies will be more dangerous. So, new enemies, new mutations, and new rewards. 3 new enemy types coming. Those are Scorched, Mothman Cultists, and Mole Miners, being added to the randomized pool of enemy types you may encounter in any Daily Ops mode. So there's a key point here. Both the locations, the mutations, and the enemy types, so all the new stuff and the existing stuff, will be rolled together into the pool of random possible combinations for Daily Ops. So you could encounter any of the game modes in any of the locations against any of the enemy types. So really mixes it up and gives a lot more for that randomness to draw on. So hopefully we'll be getting more variety in that way. Looking forward to the new ones. The new locations are quite large, with the exception really of... the new vault is very large. The other 2 aren't too bad, but getting through them and doing the new mission type is quite challenging solo. I can attest to that from my having run through it a few times on the PTS. The new damage type, that is the default mutation, which I'll have a look at in just a second, is also pretty brutal. So let's jump on to have a look at that. So in addition to the enemies you encounter inside Daily Ops, they have unique mutations that bring their own unique challenges to each operation you complete. In Decryption, the default mutation is called Savage Strike, which causes enemy attacks to be more deadly by ignoring your armor resistances. So, what it doesn't say here, but they do mention in the video, is that in addition to ignoring your armor, I don't know if it ignores all of it or just a percentage, but it is definitely a hard-hitting game mode. The enemies with Savage Strike will also be more accurate, so they will hit you more often. And there was a third point which I need to look up apparently, because I've gone and forgotten it. Yes, they have increased damage as well, so the actual damage output is higher, as well as ignoring your armor and hitting more often. So, as I say, it's a brutal game mode. Not so bad in smaller locations, but in some of the large ones, you can get clobbered pretty hard. It's also difficult to cover the ground necessary and get through the waves of enemies fast enough, so you will need a very high damage output on your team in order to get the best results, particularly if you're doing it solo. So, something to bear in mind. As I say, more details in the other video. So the other mutations that have been added that are new, in addition to all of the other ones that we've already got, are Toxic Blood, which is on death, enemies leave behind poisonous hazard, so it's a green kind of glowing poison effect on the floor. So poisonous armor is finally actually useful. So yeah, that's kind of... It's not terrible. It can sneak up on you and your health can drop quite quickly if you're not aware of it and you don't notice that you've been got by it. Group regeneration is probably the easiest one to deal with, as it means enemies just regenerate when they're clustered together. The more of them are clustered together, I think the faster they regenerate, but it's not too bad to deal with. And thirdly, Swift-footed increases their movement speed, which again, it's not too bad to deal with, but my god, do they move quick sometimes. So, good to know about. So, in addition to the points we've just covered, there's one other thing to mention, and that is that unlike the existing daily ops, the new location, specifically Vault 96, will not be explorable in the way that Vault 94 is outside of daily ops. Initially on launch, anyway. So with 94, you can go over there without being in a daily op, have a poke around, deal with the Mirelurks hanging out inside, explore, all that good stuff. With this one, you won't be able to do that because they're taking a different line. They've kind of teased it a little bit on a couple of occasions, but it looks like the location will feature in the upcoming Steel Rain expansion for the Brotherhood storyline. It's going to actually have proper quests and stuff to it, rather than just being a place you can go and explore and shoot things. So, definitely going to be making more of it. It's a really cool location. Looking forward to seeing how that happens, but it does mean you won't be able to just go and have a poke around outside of daily ops for a while. The big question that hasn't been answered yet in regards to that for me is whether or not you'll be able to just explore it in your own time at your own leisure outside of the quest after you've actually completed it. I don't suppose you'll be restricted in time actually on the quest, so maybe not quite that big a question, but it's an open thing at the moment. So, after you've blasted your way through these updates, you'll also experience all new rewards to the daily ops pool, including Covert Scout Armor, which is basically similar to the existing Scout Armor. We've got the Forest and the Urban at the moment. The Covert one is black. It was described in the video as having a bit of a Batman type style, which is kind of cool. All black would look pretty sick, I've got to admit. Obviously, it's not the highest damage resistance armor out there by any stretch, but it is quite cool. So that's worth considering. It's also got the Shadowed mod built in as standard, the Covert version, so it increases your stealth when you're actually wearing it, which is nice. We're also adding plans for the Unstoppable Monster and Medical Malpractice legendary weapons, and a variety of new plans and objects to build in your camp. So I've covered some of this in the past, and we'll have a look at more going forward as well, I have no doubt. But particularly Unstoppable Monster and Medical Malpractice, those of you who've been around 76 for a longer period of time will remember Survival Mode, the short-lived PvP world mode, that sadly got taken out, basically because it wasn't getting used enough, I think. But there were targeted achievements that dropped certain legendary weapons as rewards. There were unique legendaries, and obviously those have not been in the game since that particular game mode was removed. These are two of them, and they will be appearing as daily ops rewards, so I think it's likely that the other ones will probably appear in daily ops in subsequent expansions, at least one of which is due to happen later on in the year. So very, very cool. Right. With that out of the way, we have PTS updates. So, players who own Fallout 76 on Bethesda Net can jump into our public test server and try out Locked and Loaded right now. Test out new daily ops, camp slots, special loadouts, and more. One of the big things that also is relevant to daily ops, I should say, is the tune-up for melee combat. Hits should be more reliable, you know, less swing and a miss when you should have hit. And hopefully that works on the reverse for enemies as well. They won't hit you when they don't appear to a bit more. That's the general idea. It'll be particularly useful for example, resilient enemies, in which you have to finish with a melee hit, with it being a melee weapon or a bash. Obviously, spamming that button and having nothing happen is very, very annoying, so hopefully this will tune it up a bit, which will be cool. So you can test it all out on the PTS. Our recent updates to the PTS have also included mannequins. You can place one down, assign items to it, and display outfits and armors and the like. So there are a few other updates that are worth looking at on the PTS forum, so let's quickly bounce over there and do that. Okay, so Lady Devon has posted an update yesterday, I believe it was, yes, to the PTS as there was a maintenance period. Going through this reasonably quickly, most of the stuff on here is little bug fixes, small issues that obviously the Q&A team didn't find and the larger testing pool on the PTS did. So most of it's not earth-shattering. Again, I can link this post down below for you, so if you want to have a read yourself, you can do. But the biggest single change that is mentioned here, as you probably spotted already, is that power armor displays will not be coming in the locked and loaded update, which means they'll have to come out of the season that is due to start in about 3 weeks' time as well, because that's where they are currently being rewarded. The reason for that is, in short, the current feedback on it has been pretty negative, and having had a quick thumb through the forums myself, probably deservedly so. Basically, they don't work in a way that is conducive to the way we play the game. It's jarring, it will eat up a massive amount of your stash space if you use them, and the number of mannequins and power armor stands you could have is extremely limited as well. They share a number of placements, so basically the number is 5, and you can have 5 of either one or a mixture of the two, but it's still 5 total, if you're with me. So a lot of people not happy about that. You have to kind of take your power armor off of a power armor frame and have it loose in your stash as well, so you get the full individual weight of it rather than the £10 total you have when it's on a power armor frame, with power armor displays as they currently stand. And as you can imagine, and I'm sure your shocked horror reaction is much the same as mine to that, so they have pulled that for now from the upcoming patch and are going to continue to work on it, and hopefully will get this to work in a way that actually suits players and is, you know, practical for the way that we play the game. It's very comparable to legendary perks probably about this time last year, maybe 10 months ago, something like that, in that the first iteration on the PTS was not responded to massively well. We liked the idea and some of the concepts and stuff, but it needed a lot of fine-tuning, and a lot of the perks in the initial launch were utterly useless. So they completely redid them and actually made the legendary perks much more useful. Basically, they'll probably do the same thing here. It's a similar situation. So that's the other thing on the PTS there. So, last thing for today is the weekend event, which will be a legendary sale, and actually my favourite kind of legendary sale, as the purveyor is having 25% off all weekend. So head on over to the Rusty Pick and check out all our offerings. 25% off all legendary weapons and armour, which is cool. This one will be starting today at 12 PM Eastern Time, so that's 5 PM UK time even, so that's already running. And it will be running through till the same time on Monday, April 12th. So 12 PM Eastern Time, 5 PM UK time, which is brilliant. So we hope you've enjoyed this in-depth look at the new additions coming to Daily Ops on April 27th with our Locked and Loaded update. Until next time. So yeah, definitely pleased about the Legendary Sale, given that the last few weeks we've had a couple of events that have given us a lot of legendaries, followed by double script event last weekend along with everything else. Having a legendary sale to follow it up with makes a lot of sense. It's a good opportunity for people to capitalise on what they've built up over the last few weeks, so that's a good shout, I think, from Bethesda there. Cool to see some little extra confirmations in the Daily Ops stuff and all of that stuff there. A little disappointing on the power armor frames, but you know, that's what the test server's for, to make sure they've got a version of it that everybody's happy with and works properly. If it doesn't, pulling it is the right move, so hopefully they've got something cool they can drop into the season to come to sort of replace it, and we'll get that later on down the line. But the mannequins are still on for this particular patch, so that's cool. Looking forward to seeing how that works and getting in and testing that. Obviously, I would imagine in the next few days, well, next few weeks rather, we'll be seeing features on the perk loadouts and camp slots. Actually, I think they've already talked about camp slots a fair bit before, so it might just be the perk loadouts that they'll talk out a bit more. But that will be very, very cool. Definitely looking forward to checking out that in a bit more detail and getting Bethesda's perspective on that. So definitely looking forward to that. Lots of cool stuff coming up. Cannot wait for this patch, particularly with, well, to be honest, everything about this patch is something I'm looking forward to, really. So very excited for it. Another strong one from Bethesda. Bit of a long wait, unfortunately, since the last one, but Life, the Universe and everything, unfortunately, has gotten in the way, and it is obviously covering some fairly big stuff as well. So there is that. And yeah, it'll be most welcome when it arrives in around 3 weeks' time. So, enough rambling from me for now. I do hope you found that useful and informative. If you did, please do consider dropping subs and likes for me. It is very, very much appreciated. Social media links, the merch store, channel memberships, all available down below the video as well. If you're interested in supporting the channel in that way, it is massively appreciated and really, really helps me out. So a huge thank you to everybody who's done that already. And if you get a chance, as always, do join us for the live streams as well. We are carrying on with more Fallout 76, which I'm having an absolute blast with. Really looking forward to getting back in and playing around with my new camp and stuff. If you haven't checked out that video, you should do so. Went up early today. And we're also continuing on with Remnant from the Ashes, which is good fun and rather hairy at times, to say the least. So having a blast with that as well, so I hope you'll join us. For now, thank you very much for watching. I look forward to speaking to you all very, very soon.